man of rare taste, sophistication and immense good humour. But that's enough about Alex Irons. Let's welcome Van Connor back to the show. Good morning, Van. How you doing, mate? I'm joking, of course. I'm slightly envious of you this week because, of course, you've seen Raiders 5, as has Sam Stevens, as has Stuart Armour. I've yet to see it. Did you enjoy it, first of all? You saw the preview, didn't you, in the week?
I did. I saw the new Indiana Jones movie, and I'm very happy to say that is the best Indy has been in 34 years. I can say that with some certainty, I think.
Wow. Because, I mean, I was really, as many people were bitterly disappointed with the old Crystal Skulls. I thought the first two-thirds of The Last Crusade weren't bad. It just got a bit wifty-wafty after that. But so what was the 30-odd years ago one? That would have been...
that would have been Last Crusade in 89.
Oh, yeah,
I think the last good one.
Yeah, no, I mean, Sean Connery, and that was fantastic. The two of them together were brilliant. I'm looking forward to seeing number 5 then. But let's start with your first film recommendation of the week. And it's a sequel. And it's not just any old sequel. It's a Jason Statham sequel.
Well, exactly. You've just, queued me up as a man who has good taste. So I'm going to lead you into a Jason Statham action sequel from 2009, as if to make that claim for you. Is, of course, Crank 2, High Voltage. And it is an absolutely mental sequel to an absolutely mental original. If you saw the first one, I think we've talked about the first one before, in which Jason Statham is the hitman Chev Chelios, who in the first one is given a synthetic poison that he's going to kill him unless he keeps his heart rate above... his adrenaline above a certain level. In the sequel, his heart is then replaced with an artificial heart that he has to keep electrocuted in order to stay alive until he can recover, as he says, his strawberry tart. So he goes on a rampage through the streets of LA. It's directed by Neville Dean and Taylor again. This one is as mad as the first one, but kicked up to a whole new level. This was 2009 when we just started to have like GoPros and technology like that on the scene. Prosumer action cameras had come onto the market. So Neville Dean and Taylor decided to embrace that technology and literally took to rollerblades on the streets of LA to shoot over 300 hours of footage for this. It is absolutely, it's mad to the extent that they literally managed to get Jerry Halliwell to cameo as Jason Statham's mum on the Jerry Springer Show. That's how nuts this is. And don't just take my word for it. You can see this tonight, 11:15. I strongly recommend, even if you've never seen the first one, it's not going to make any more or less sense whether or not you've seen the first one. I'll say, mad as a bag of cats. I'm going to pass you over to Jason Statham, who will give you the lay of the land for the one and only Chev Chelios. I'll say, absolutely nuts.
Marvellous stuff. Here we go then. It's on, is it tonight on 5 Star?
11:15 on 5 Star tonight.
Enjoy. Here we go.
My name is Chev Chelios, and today I didn't die. It's storm heart. Why not just let me die?
They were keeping you alive to farm your organs.
They gave you an artificial heart?
Yeah.
How many bars does the battery show?
1.
You got 1 hour. Keep your body electrically charged to keep it pumping. If you can get hold of your heart, I'm reasonably sure I can put it back in.
Whoa, I mean, that's the old strawberry tarts. That's another cracky... Do you think will there ever be a Crank 3 with Statham, or have they left it too long now, do you think?
They were touting one around the time. I think they wanted to do Crank 3D because this was opened shortly before the 3D boom. So Crank 3D is something they did debate, and Statham has said over the years that it's something he wants to do when they I think the quote is when they get their heads together.
Marvellous stuff. Okay, then my first recommendation is a science fiction film. It's a strong element of science fiction in Crank 2. And I really enjoyed this one. I don't know if it made money or not. It seems to open and shut in the blink of an eye. I was lucky enough to catch it on the big screen. It's called Edge of Tomorrow, although in some markets it's called Live, Die, Repeat, Edge of Tomorrow. And it stars Tom Cruise basically as doing almost a variation on the Weasley turn he does in A Few Good Men. So he's a very slick, smarmy, way too good looking public relations officer in a war that's ongoing against alien invaders, and he's kind of forced to join a landing party to fight the invaders. Doesn't go well, but he's kind of plucked out of the death situation he's in, and he's told that he can actually keep living and keep fighting the aliens and keep dying, and we're going to learn every time from his dreadful experiences. So he's got a very good kind of central science fiction setup, based I think on a Japanese novel I've never read, a short Japanese novel. He's got a great cast around him. Emily Blunt, of course, brilliant actor. Bill Paxton, who was in the original model for the Arnie Terminator, wasn't he? I think he helped James Cameron pitch the film when he turned up looking like the Terminator. And the wonderful Brendan Gleeson. The effects are fantastic. The violence is ultra violent, and the effects. I mean, the action sequence in this, while they're obviously at times CGI'd, because Tom Cruise is so good. He's so intense, I think, in action sequences. You sometimes forget that actually what nonsense might be going on around him. So it's on 9 o'clock tonight, also on 5 Star. So I presume it's the warm-up film to your one, is it, tonight?
Must be.
It must be. So a double whammy from 5 Star tonight. Get that download recording done very early indeed. Did you enjoy this one when it came out? Because I don't remember it even being particularly well reviewed, this one, or widely reviewed. It must have been.
I can assure you I most certainly gave it a glowing review at the time. Incidentally, that Japanese novel, do you know the title of that Japanese novel? Because it's an amazing title.
Is it something like it's a Bond version, is it A View to a Kill or Live and Let Kill or something like that?
The title was All You Need Is Kill.
All You Need Is Kill.
I absolutely love that.
So not Bond at all, the Beatles. I'm getting me 60s references mixed up. So it's 9 o'clock tonight, edge of tomorrow, Tom Cruise, Live, Die, Repeat, 5 Star, 9 o'clock.
What day is it?
Judgment Day. You just came in with the fresh recruits.
This is not the end.
The invasion will fail, along with every soldier you are sending. We lose
This is not
everything.
the end.
Come find me when you wake up.
Wow, great film, great setup there. So what's number 2 for you, Van, this week?
And number 2 for me is a film that was kind of buried by the first lockdown. It opened in the UK, I think it was the week before the very first lockdown in 2020. Then got rushed to premium VOD, I think about 2 or 3 weeks later. It's Misbehaviour, from Philippa Lowthorpe. And this is based on true events, surrounding the 1970 Miss World pageant in London, which Bob Hope, famously hosted. And he's played in the movie by Greg Kinnear. It follows 3 women played by Jessie Buckley, Gugu Mbatha-Raw and Keira Knightley, and it's their 3 stories as the Miss World goes ahead. It's the Women's Liberation Front seeking to protest and make a spectacle out of it. You've then got Gugu Mbatha-Raw, who is a contestant in the pageant, and you've got Keira Knightley, who seeks to join the Liberation Front as well. It's an absolute cracker. This really funny and very much in the vein of sort of those sort of kitchen sink feel good comedies, like something like Calendar Girls or The Full Monty,
Made in Dagenham, one of
or
those
something like
films.
that. Made in Dagenham type, exactly that. So it's like great cast, lot of laughs, but it's got poignancy, it's got punch. It's the kind of thing, to be honest, I could see this as one of those sort of edutainment kind of things that they would show you at GCSE level in school. Absolutely worth a watch, and you can see this Saturday night, 10:20 on BBC One. Absolutely worth a watch. I'll pass you over to a clip. I believe this is Keira Knightley and her mum talking about their very, very different views of female liberation in 1970s Britain.
Here we go.
And while you're off with your fanatics, Gareth and I are looking after your daughter. Seems to me liberation just means getting someone else to do your job for you.
So you think it's all right, do you, that one half of the world has all the power and the other half just has to lump it?
Oh, don't be so melodramatic.
Don't be so blind. You couldn't even get a bank account without Dad's permission. The doctor wouldn't give you birth control.
That was one bank manager and one doctor.
Just because you swallowed it doesn't mean I have to.
Wow, that's an interesting kind of dialogue between mother and daughter there. And then my second recommendation is, I don't know if I've ever recommended this before, because it's almost to me like the kind of monolithic land sculptures of Monument Valley, Utah, where it's like part of this film. It's such a kind of iconic film in American cinema. One of the greatest westerns ever made, if not the greatest. I'd put it up there with, I don't want to give you the full list now, but Rio Bravo would be on the list. I mean, maybe The Good, the Bad and the Ugly, a couple of other interesting ones in the Wild Bunch, of course. But it's also epic in that it's got John Wayne playing at times almost a psychopathic, fixated character, focused on revenge and recovering the niece who's been abducted by Native Americans. It's set during the Texas, they call them Texas Indian Wars then, of course. And it was based on the relatively true occurrences of when the Native Americans would, say, slaughter people in a farmhouse, when they'd encounter families, they may take the younger children with them, while they'll be killing the adults members left behind. Now, Ethan Hunt loses his niece and other family members. Him and 2 young cowboys set out in pursuit of them and go very doggedly for them. One of the guys is after his fiancée, and you're going to hear in the trailer that of course has a pretty horrendous ending. Jeffrey Hunter plays John Wayne's sidekick, and it then went on to become Jesus Christ in an early one of the film versions of Jesus' life. Amazing blue eyes, the usual John Ford cast of characters. Got amazing music by Max Steiner, and again the typical use of old folk music and gospel music. And what I particularly love about this film is that John Wayne becomes, I mean, every time I know the ending of the film, and most people will know the ending of the film, but every time I watch it, I still get caught up in that thing of thinking, what's he going to do? He keeps saying, if my niece has become basically a Comanche Indian, I will kill her. There's no choice. They're the enemy. I will kill her. If that's happened to her, it's better for her to die than live that life. So the kind of thrust of the film is what will happen as his niece gets older and they get reports she's still alive, what will happen when he finds her. And it's almost, I mean, the great westerns, John Ford, are biblical, and the backdrop to this mainly Monument Valley is amazing. Some of it hasn't aged well. There's a Native American woman that kind of tags along for, I think, called Look or Look Here, and that's meant to be kind of broad comedy. But by and large, I think it's probably John Ford's masterpiece, and it's on, you lucky people. Definitely. It's on 1:20 tomorrow. On Channel 5. It's called The Searchers from 1956. If you've never seen it, folks, I urge you you owe it yourself to catch this one, because it's a fantastically intense, rich film. If you have seen it, you're going to want to record it anyway and watch it at your leisure. So it's 1:20 tomorrow on 5. It's The Searchers. Here's a chunk of the trailer.
So we'll find him in the end, I promise you. We'll find him.
Here is the story of a man, hard and relentless, tender and passionate, of people who dared to challenge a hostile land. Here is drama of great love and aching loneliness.
I found him. I found Lucy.
What you saw was a buck wearing Lucy's dress. I found Lucy back in the canyon.
What was she?
What do you want me to do? Draw you a picture? Spell it out? Don't ever ask me. As long as you live, don't ever ask me more.
I mean, the intensity of that performance, I mean, you know, when you hear it in isolation, it sounds a bit hammy. But when you're watching that film, that glorious, saturated, whatever the Technicolor process is, it's a fantastic film. That's my recommendation. My third recommendation and final one, though, is another cracker, another favourite of mine, of course, and of everybody's. And we started with a conversation about the latest Raiders. What's the full title of number 5, Van?
The new one is Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, I believe is the new one.
This one is Raiders of the Lost Ark. It's on a Sunday evening. Very timely re-showing of this one from 1981, unbelievably. 9 o'clock, where it all began, of course, back in the day. And again, it's one of those, it's become almost a kind of a cultural landmark, hasn't it, the Raiders film? Certainly the first 3, I think, are fantastic. Number 4 was a strange misfire. I'm hoping that you said that number 5 is the best one since The Last Crusade. So, and I can remember so many lines and sequences for this verbatim, because I must have watched this when it came out the year my son was born. So I went with his mum to the cinema to see it. And then when videos came through, by the time it turned up on video, the glory days we had to wait. He was about 3 or 4 years old. And immediately saw it was entranced by it, because of course it's based on the old Republic serials. It's got, the action never stops. It's very funny indeed. And it reminds you that when he's presented with the right material, what a great kind of comedian Harrison Ford can be. He's kind of got that Cary Grant ability to do sinister, to do suspenseful, and to do comedy almost at the same time. So no choice, but this is an absolute belter. Sunday evening, 9 o'clock on Film 4, Raiders of the Lost Ark. You don't need a burst of the trailer, but we're spoiling you this morning. But why did it have to be snakes? Why snakes?
Dr. Jones, you're a man of many talents.
Start the engine!
The Ark. It is something that man was not meant to disturb.
An army which carries the Ark before it is invincible.
Indiana
Jones!
Let her go.
Snakes. Why did it have to be snakes?
I'm going after that truck.
Oh, I don't know. I'm making this up as I go.
Whip crack away there with Indiana Jones and the gang. Denham Elliott's fantastic in that as well. They give him, they kind of put him in there as almost token bumming Englishman. He steals every scene he's in effortlessly, doesn't he? Great stuff.
He really does.
And you've gone for an old favourite of both of ours, I know. Tell us your Sunday evening, Sunday night recommendation, Van, if you would, finally.
Yes, so Sunday evening, perfect way to close out the weekend. Over on Turner Classic Movies on TCM at 9 p.m, you can see, it's 30 years old this year. Wow. I think it's Sylvester Stallone's best movie. It is, of course, Demolition Man. Marco Brambia's one and only feature directorial effort. Kind of introduced, I think this actually properly broke, it was the breakout role for Sandra Bullock. She would go and do Speed a year later as well. Also co-stars Wesley Snipes as the villain. You've got Bob Bob Gunton, Benjamin Bratt, Dennis Leary's in there, it's a classic sort of cliched action story, but the classic action hero cop who's wrongfully imprisoned along with the terrorist who put him in there as well. And that when the terrorist gets out of prison, they have to let the cop out. But the twist here is that instead of going into a regular prison, they've gone into a cryo prison. They've been frozen for several decades. They get out in the 2030s, I think it's 2032, into a society that has become a sort of sanitized, whitewashed, politically correct, everybody's vegan type of society. And of course, you can't even swear, you can't smoke, you can't touch anyone. There's rules for absolutely everything. Health and safety has gone mad. What will they do with the cop formerly known as the Demolition Man in their midst? It's an absolute cracker, and it even has the added bonus of having weirdly predicted certain elements of the future that did actually come to pass, up to and including a certain Austrian action movie star going into US politics, which does actually become a plot point at one point. So say Sunday night, 9 p.m. TCM. I've got a clip for you. This is Sylvester Stallone, acclimatizing to the future he has found himself in this shopping mall-like police precinct that he's introduced to.
It's a cracker. Here's Van's clip.
I don't know if you guys know it, but you're out of toilet paper.
Did you say toilet paper?
Oh, they used handfuls of wadded paper back in the 20s.
I'm happy that you're happy, but the place where you're supposed to have the toilet paper, you got this little shelf with 3 seashells on it.
He doesn't know how to use the 3 seashells. I can see how that could be confusing.
Yeah, he obviously gets the look there from Sylvester Stallone, does he not? Look at Stop a Human Heart at 400 paces. And remind us how we can catch you and your pal on Off Screen, if you could, your great podcast fan.
Yes, you can hear Adam Ball and myself on Off Screen on all podcast platforms from 8 a.m. this morning, where, of course, this week, because Indy's not out until, next week, it's Wednesday, but we'll review that next Friday. So instead, our big heavy hitter for this week is going to be Jennifer Lawrence in the R-rated, raunchy sex comedy, No Hard Feelings.
Marvellous stuff there. Van Connor, of course, and his Matt Adam Ball on Off Screen. Catch Van with me once a week on a Friday. That was half a dozen Freeview film recommendations for your delight and delectation. And we, my friends, are live till 5, and that's a wrap.